I stacked the man.
No!
No!
You got three-quarter people. Three-quartering is mandatory to make it to the top.
I mean, do I even have to do an intro? You already saw the mini intro. You see the title. You know what's about to happen. Multiple pots against Wolfgang Poker himself. Let's go. All right, we have a lot of hands to go through here in this session, so I'm gonna knock out the first few pretty quick. In this first hand, we look down at King 4 offsuit. In the small blind, the button straddle is on, and it's pretty much on the whole night, so keep that in mind. Now, there's 3 limps to me, and I'm gonna stick in the call here, and the big blind checks. Off to a flop, and of course, it comes 4, King 9, rainbow, so we flop top and bottom pair. I check with plans to check raise. The big blind checks as well. Now, under the gun, bets $10. Low jack and button both call. Action's on me. Time to put in that raise. I make it $50. Thinking someone at least has to have a king in this spot, and only the under the gun player puts in the call. So we're heads up to a turn. It comes the 10 of diamonds. 125 in the pot, about 135 in my opponent's stack. I think y'all know where this is going. I stick it all in, and my opponent thinks about it for about a minute and decides on a fold. So we scoop the first pot of the session with King 4 offsuit. All right, in this hand, we have ourselves an actual good hand. We pick up the snowman in the cutoff. Now, Jason, who's a really good, capable player, limps from under the gun, folds over to me. I make it $80. The big blind player calls, and now Jason's gonna do one of his little tricks. He bumps it up to $80. I've seen him do this before, and he had pocket queens. This was earlier in this session, so I'm putting him on a really strong hand, but he covers me, so if I can spike an 8, I should be able to double up. So with that in mind, I stick in the call. The big blind player folds, but wait, that button straddle still hasn't acted. Time for him to act, and he's just gonna go ahead and rip it all in for $235. Jason just calls, and when he just calls, I think he could have a hand like ace jack suited, ace queen, ace king. We're ahead of those hands, but we're basically flipping. So after contemplating jamming for about a minute or so, I decided to just fold, and thank God I did, because Jason has pocket 9s. The button straddle has pocket kings. They run it twice. Jason spikes a 9 on the first board, and kings hold on the second board. So thank God we didn't jam. All right, hand number 3, we pick up the ducks. In the hijack, folds to me. Sometimes I'll raise here. This time I decide to limp. The cutoff now decides to make it $20. Everyone else folds, and I stick in the call. So we're heads up to a flop. Becomes ace 3 4. So we got ourselves a pair and a gutter. I check as expected. The cutoff puts out a C bet for $35. I'm gonna call with my gutter and pair. Off to the turn, it comes the jack of spades. Action goes check check. Surprisingly, river. Think of one good river. Think of one. It's not a 2. It's a 5 though, so we make ourselves a straight, and I think when he checks back the turn, he's going to be weighted towards a lot of top pair holdings, so I think we can get a good amount of value from those hands. I decided to bet out for $80, and after thinking for about 10 seconds, he flicks in the call. I show the straight, and we win. Obviously got pretty lucky there, but it's better to be lucky than good. On to the next. All right, so by the time this hand happens, we're actually stuck a little bit. We lost a few double board bomb pots per usual. Y'all know how those go. But we look down at King 3 of diamonds. In the +3, the +2 player limps. I raise to 15, pretty loose, I know. Hijack player calls, +1 calls, and so does the button straddle. So we're 4 ways to a flop that rewards us for the poor play pre-flop. It comes King 3 5 rainbow. 2 pair, seems good to me. +1 checks, I bet out for a third size of the pot, $20. The other 2 players fold, and now that +1 player decides to call, but before he calls, he makes a quick little comment.
One time.
And yeah, you guys know how this one's gonna go. The turn is a deuce of diamonds, so now we have 2 pair with a flush draw to go along with it. My opponent checks, and I think I like a check here. Reason being is if we bet, we're probably just gonna get check raised by a better hand, and all worse hands will probably just fold. So I check it back. Off to a river, it comes the 6 of hearts. Not a good card, and that appears to be the case whenever he decides to bet out for $200. But what hands does he really have that contain a 4 here? I mean, 6-4, ace-4, that's about it. He limp called pre-flop though, so he could also have 5-6, deuce-3, 3-6, all worst 2 pair holdings basically. And because I check back the turn, my hand literally just looks like top pair. So maybe he's trying to target just that. I don't know, maybe I'm looking into this a little too deep. Either way, I decide to stick in the call and get shown Queen 4 of diamonds. So that's pretty tilting. On to the next hand. All right, this time let's actually play a good suited king. We look down at King 10 of diamonds in the small blind. Jason raises from the hijack to 25, folds to me. Could probably be 3-betting here, but I've already tried that twice this session. With this exact hand, it didn't go too well. So I decided to just stick in the call here. The big blind and button player fold. So we're heads up to a flop. It comes 10, 6, king, 2 spades, 1 heart. Top 2 pair. Looks pretty good to me. I check. Jason wisely checks it back. After the turn, it comes the deuce of hearts. Time to pump some money into this pot. I bet $30. Now Jason raises to 80. Originally, I was just going to call here, but then I thought about it. What does he really have? He could have a hand like ace, king, king, queen for top pair, although I think those hands will probably bet the flop. So I think he's more weighted towards combo draws, hands like ace, queen of hearts, jack, nine of spades, ace, six of spades, hands like that. I think those are more likely, especially since we don't block them. So with all this in mind, I think it's time to put in another raise. The only issue is I have 369 left in my stack, so I can't really make it 200. I would only have 169 behind. So that leaves one option here. That's to go all in. I jam. Jason goes into the tank and eventually decides to call. We're running the once, max pain. We're off to a river, which comes the 4 of clubs, about as bricky as it can get, if that's a word. I flip over the 2 pair. Jason shows, wow, okay. Jason shows 7-8 of spades. So we had ourselves one of those combo draws, but he didn't get there on the river. Thank God. We scoop a nearly $800 pot. And this next one, we look down at ace-jack offsuit on the button straddle. Under the gun makes it 20. Mason, who y'all might remember from vlog 2, he definitely got the better of us. He sticks in the call in the cutoff, and action's on small blind, who's Wolfgang Poker himself. He sticks in the call, and action is on me. Perfect spot to go ahead and put in that 3-bet squeeze, but I just called. Not too sure why. Anyways, off to a flop. It comes 6, 3, ace, 2 clubs, 1 spade. Action checks over to Mason in the cutoff, and he bets $40. No way I'm going anywhere here. I call, everyone else folds. Off to a turn comes the king of clubs. Hate it. Action goes check, check. Off to a river. 9 of clubs. Hate it. Action goes check, check. I win, and he shows 4 or 5 of spades. Not this time, buddy. Not next time. Not the time after that. Not next week. Not next year. Not ever again. I'm never losing you ever again. On to the next hand. And this next one, we look down at queen jack offsuit in the hijack. Under the gun limps. +1 makes it 15. +2 small blind button straddle under the gun, and I all make the call. So we're 6 ways to a flop, and it can't come any better. It comes ace, 10, king, 2 diamonds. So much to get value from. Action checks all the way to me. I make it 35, and everyone folds. Yeah, that's right. Everyone folds. Everyone folds! On to the next hand. And this next one, we look down at ace queen offsuit in the small blind. +2 raises to 15, folds over to me. I 3-bets at $55. Folds back to the +2, who folds. But wait, good old Mason is on that button straddle, and he's going to stick in the call. I guess he hasn't learned his lesson. Flop comes 3, queen, ace. Y'all know how this one ends. I check because we basically have this board locked up, and Mason's a capable bluffer, but he doesn't take the bait. He checks it back. Off to a turn, it is the 8 of clubs. Time to put some money into this pot. I bet $40. Keeping it small. Could make a case for going a little bit bigger since there's a flush draw, but I made it 40, and now Mason min clicks it. He makes it 80, and something just feels off. It just feels like straight air. And I'm sure he'll try to use that against me in the future, but like I said, he's never beating me again, so I shouldn't have to worry too much. Anyways, I decided to not re-raise. I just stick in the call, keep all those bluffs in. River's a 10 of diamonds, and I don't think betting accomplishes a whole lot, so I check. He bets 150, and I just snap it off. Couldn't call any quicker, and Mason flips over 7-6 offsuit. The disrespect. All right, the hand you guys have all been waiting for. The hand of the session. We're playing a PLO double board bomb pot with a $200 cap. I'm in under the gun with 9975. Top board comes 5-3-5. We got ourselves trips. Bottom board comes deuce, jack, 9. We have ourselves a middle set. Mason in the big blind leads for $30. I just call. Not going to try to give an explanation for this. But Wolfgang to my left decides to cap it at $200, which looking back, I'm not sure how he can do that since it's PLO, but I guess this dude's a cheater. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, +2 puts in the call, folds back to Mason, who also calls, and obviously I'm not going anywhere. I call, and I would just let you guys hear what happens. Gang, everybody gets to see it. I stack the man.
I didn't have pocket 5s.
No, I have a 5 though.
What do you have? 5 what?
I have a set and then I have a 5. No, I don't have a boat yet. That's not good. No, don't say you're gonna do it. Pair. Oh no.
3 is full. Straight.
Oh no!
Hey.
Oh no! No!
You gotta 3-quarter people. 3-quartering is mandatory to make it to the top.
So he flopped himself a boat on the top, and he got there on the turn. And obviously after that suck out on the bottom board, I'm unsubscribed from Wolfgang's channel. So he may have won the pot, but he lost a subscriber. So who really won? I don't really know where I'm going with that, but yeah, that one didn't feel good. 20 minutes later, we're going to get a chance to get that money back against Wolfgang. And this one, we look down at ace 7 of clubs and a +2, and I raise it to $15. Wolfgang on my direct left, 3 bets to 50. Low jack and big blind both cold call. Makes a lot of sense. So I'm not going anywhere. I put in the call as well. We're off to a flop. Now, real quick, I forgot to get a video of this board, so I may have the suits off, but I remember the cards for the most part. So the flop comes 3 ace 6 rainbow. Big blind checks, I check. Wolfgang checks, and the low jack checks. Okay. Off to a turn, it's a king of hearts, big blind checks, and I almost put out a bet here to target hands like king queen or king jack, but something just felt a little off. So I check, and now Wolfgang bets $75. The other 2 players fold, and I think we have a pretty straightforward call here. I stick in the call off to a river. It comes the 4 of diamonds. I check, and now the table talk begins.
I'm trying to think about like what I could do here.
Right.
So that way he can title the video something great for himself. You know?
Right.
I'm thinking about him, not myself right now.
I fully agree.
I'm being selfish.
You got it.
Wolfgang overbets me on the river.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
like that'd be like for him, you know.
Right.
That's an overbet. 355.
So he picked up the phone, he smiled.
Right.
He takes a sip of his drink.
Yeah. Right.
He's 6 feet tall.
From Chicago.
It's a Thursday.
I feel like I'm about to like walk on an NBA
It's
field.
a full moon.
Right.
Ah, so done. Either way, I'm pretty much famous after this game. So it's kind of. You got it. Show it. Don't you do it.
What do you want to see?
Oh, show it! You have to.
Show them both. No? You want to see the higher card or the lower card?
Both.
No, the higher or the lower.
God!
Show them both.
Hi.
The higher card?
All right. Oh, it's a good fold. I believe it.
That leads us into the last hand of the session. We look down at king queen offsuit on the button. Under the gun limps, folds to the hijack, who's a fairly tight player. He makes it 20, folds to me. Could definitely 3-bet, but I don't. I decided to just stick in the call, and under the gun calls as well. Off to a flop 3 ways. It comes 4, queen, 2 clubs, 1 diamond. Under the gun checks, hijack, puts out a c-bet for $30. I'm gonna get pretty tricky here. I am just going to call. I don't want to scare anyone off. Under the gun folds. Heads up to a turn, it comes the 3 of hearts, and now the hijack slows down and checks it. At this point, I'm fairly certain he has a hand like ace king, ace jack, or just a pocket pair like jacks or tens. We have all those hands in horrible shape, so there's really no bad rivers for us. So I decide I'm going to get really tricky here and check it back. Now my thinking was, if I check this one back on the turn, it's going to look like I have clubs because I'm pretty much always betting a queen on this turn. So as long as clubs brick off, I can bet big and probably get looked up pretty light. That's the game plan. That's what I'm thinking. So we're off to a river. It comes the jack of hearts. Not my favorite card. He could definitely have pocket jacks, but when he checks, we can rule that out. So I'm going to stick to the plan. I bet a bit over pot for $125, and after thinking for about a minute or so, he calls, we show, we win. Thank you guys for tuning in. And that was straight off the dome. I didn't even plan that. Thank you guys, though, for real, for watching until the very end. If you did, please drop a like and a comment onto the outro.
Have you ever seen the outro in the closet? No, you haven't, but the audio is just so good in here. So here are the results. We were in for $1,000, cashed out for $1,592. It's a profit of $592. At one point in time, we were almost stuck $800. So it feels good to come back and book a win. Against Wolfgang, we are 1-2. He's 2-1. So we have a losing record against him. But that's bound to change. We're bound to take his money, his entire bankroll. It's going to happen. Actually, the more important thing, though, is that we beat Mason. I don't even think we lost a pot to Mason. And that was kind of my whole goal this year, I think, was the main goal. So mission accomplished. Mason, if you're watching this, like I said, bro, you're never going to beat me again. So just give up. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. Once again, like, comment, share, subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.